Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I record each Saturday 5 episodes. So please hit the like button, subscribe so you catch all 5 episodes. We usually start out with one theme or topic. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes to really understand it. Some things are more sensitive than others right now, what's going on in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe, and let's jump into this video. You would probably avoid getting up for as long as you could to not have to do it. And I don't want my people not wanting to come to church, not wanting to get up and face things because they're afraid of what's coming. My response to them was, well, that's kind of a ridiculous statement. Why would you look at something that you're going to stub your toe on and get up and go stub your toe? Why don't you think of another way to get around that riser or get around those stairs or a different way to go into the house? And that's what I want to share, is that other direction. We didn't come to an agreement on that. But my point being on this isn't, again, not to bag on him. I apologize for that if it comes across that way. I am a little frustrated with it because I just see our people just floundering and not preparing, and this is going to slap them hard. And I know he's caring about them. I truly feel he's sincere in his caring. He just doesn't really know how to lead them because he doesn't really know what's going on. His focus is on something different, and there could be some reality to that behind what's his focus on too. But there's other things that are preceding that are here on top of us right now that we also need to deal with. So where are the leaders? Where are the people? Where are you in buoying up this U.S. Constitution right now? This is the time. This is the time that we have to be strong enough to stand up. I know it's difficult. Where I'm at, I can't even put, it's even a question if I can put my flag up in front of my house without getting some sort of a backlash. Definitely, I cannot tell people where I'm at, where I am politically. I can't do that. And anymore, it's funny because during the whole pandemic, I saw Christians just come together, and I didn't care what faith they were. I met people when I was flying back and forth to South America and going across the country in the U.S. I met people that were Christians, and all we could talk about was getting free again, defending our freedoms and coming together. But now we got that freedoms. We're all breaking out, and these sanctions, not necessarily the LDS people. I think we're doing just the opposite. We're trying to be more like the typical Christians, changing our vocabulary and everything to be Christian-like, ministering. This is something that the Christians here do. They do ministering, right? We did home teaching and etc. I like the idea of what ministering is, but I personally think we're trying to become Christians so they accept us better. We need to not worry about that. We have at the helm right now of our leadership people that are obviously really concerned about the appearance and the press of the church, and we need to have the faith that the Lord is going to take care of all that. We need to stick to the principles and do what's right and let the consequences follow. That's our gospel. It's our doctrine, and we're doing just the opposite right now. Let's keep going and talk a little more. Let's continue with the video here, Walter.
How are the elders of Israel going to prepare for that mission? How are they going to know what the Constitution is, so they will know when it is on the brink of ruin? In many of the law schools of today, you will hear that the Constitution is whatever the Supreme Court says it is. Could it be that the Supreme Court, which President McKay said is leading this nation down the road to atheism, is the agency to tell us what this divine document is? Can we learn best how to preserve it by studying what it is at the hands of some of those who are seeking to destroy it?
Okay, let's stop for a minute there.
President McKay.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful. And I've heard over Oaks in the last few years, and I've read, other statements from the first presidency. And it's always been, well, if the Supreme Court declares it's this way, then it's constitutional. And you can see the difference going back to the 70s and 80s versus now. Hey, we need to question the Supreme Court. They are going to lead us down to atheism. They are corrupt. The Supreme Court does not dictate to us what the Constitution is. We as the people need to read the Constitution and understand what it is. So I have to ask my listeners today, all of you out there, how many of you have read the Constitution? Just read Just read it. Now, look, I went to go see the Constitution. We're going back to 2010, and we were at a Boy Scout jamboree. This is right before Obama kind of poo-pooed on it. He didn't show up for it, and you right then you knew that scouting was in trouble. It was a big issue, and we were there. My kids were there, and we were doing this U.S. history thing, and we had done it before. And we're kind of going back again, but we want to go see the Constitution. We went in to see the Constitution, and it wasn't there. It was a replica. It wasn't the real Constitution. I asked, well, where's the real Constitution? They said, well, to preserve it, we had to put it back down into a climate-controlled environment. So this is an exact replica. Here's what they're doing. They're replacing everything with replicas. Nothing is real. You even go into ruins, it's a replica. I mean, if you go to archaeological sites, I don't know why I keep saying ruins, because they're in ruins, actually, and they're in ruins as far as their historical and relevance is concerned, too, because the narrative is being changed on them. However, what we need to do today is seek out to understand what the Constitution means and not rely on the Supreme Court. You can see how the Supreme Court is corrupt when the Texas tried to get a law passed a law to actually stop the illegal immigration. The Supreme Court came back and said, no, you can't do that. That's not the states. Well, wait a minute. If we have an invasion coming, the states then revert right back to protecting the states. That's a whole other issue I'm not going to get into. But the Supreme Court corruption is just as bad as that corruption that has penetrated into the church. Same idea, the same kind of people. You have look, we have all these foreigners coming in. They're taking positions now, taking positions in attorney generals, taking judges, especially. And remember in the Book of Mormon that the judges and the attorneys would allow the secret combinations to gain their strength. You're seeing the same thing happen today. So it's really going to be really important that we take upon ourselves this responsibility of the U.S. Constitution and defending that Constitution. It's going to be us, right? Well, yes and no. It's going to be us, but it's going to be other great leaders, according to Brigham Young, who went back and clarified a lot of this, went back and said it won't be the first presidency. The leaders of the church will not stand to defend the Constitution yet. They'll come around later. At the time, he said he didn't know why. We know why now. He can't, because they're trying to build temples in Venezuela for the time being. I guess they're trying to get as many as they can into the covenant before they lose all those privileges, because they aren't rights down there to go to church. They're privileges like they're trying to do here in the U.S. and trying to make it a privilege globally through the whole World Economic Forum agenda, which is backed by the United Nations and World Health Organization, which is all being formed right now. So the Constitution can be very important for us to defend elders of Israel and sisters of Israel. We need to defend that Constitution. Continue on, please, Walter.
Had a better approach when he encouraged us to support good and conscientious candidates who are truly dedicated to the Constitution in the tradition of the Founding Fathers.
I thank you for being with us on Courageous Conviction. Remember, there's 5 episodes each week that we put out. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes, so stay with us, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and don't miss tomorrow's episode on Courageous Conviction.